Lash Legend makes her debut on SmackDown and is going to WarGames. We talk about that and so much more. This is WrstlXtra. Yo, this is WrstlXtra. I'm your boy, A Dazzle, the Black Wrestling Advocate. Always joined by my tag team partner. Say his name, he shall appear. The Oracle, the Professor, that is Gerard Bonner. My guy, it's been a couple of weeks. What's been happening with you?
Oh man, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, doing some traveling all over the place. So yeah, just glad to be back and glad to have plenty to talk about as we are on the road to WarGames, just finished Blood and Guts. Like there's a lot going on.
It's a lot. We were last here a couple of weeks ago, of course. And since then, we have seen Lash Legend make her debut on SmackDown. It's interesting how the last time we spoke of Lash Legend, I believe it was 2 weeks, maybe not 3 weeks ago, talking about what's going on with Lash, what's happened with her push, blah, blah. She lost to the current Evolve Women's Champion, Kendall Gray, on NXT. Right. So we were like, whoa, what's going on?
Right.
Then all of a sudden, she's now locking horns with the likes of Charlotte Flair, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, the biggest names in women's wrestling in the WWE, alongside Nia Jax, Asuka. What changed?
I don't know that anything changed. I think this was all part of the plan. I think the irony of this is incredible. You consider how over the last couple of weeks, we asked the question, so who's on the SmackDown women's division? Who is it that can serve as challengers or potential opponents there for Jade Cargill? And again, we talked about potentially NXT names, but what would happen? And now you bring up Lash Legend, and all of a sudden, this women's division on SmackDown seems to be popping all over again. To have her paired with Nia Jax, clearly the two most dominant women on all of WWE at this point, makes them super imposing, makes them huge heels, and then to have her thrust into WarGames, that's pretty massive. It says that there's a lot of trust put into Lash Legend. The women's WarGames match has always been a huge attraction for Survivor Series over these last few years, and only the best of the best seem to be in that. And so to have a scenario where Lash Legend really makes this SmackDown PLE debut on Survivor Series WarGames is massive. So I'm very excited for Lash Legend, for what this means for the SmackDown women's division, what it means for her career as well. We saw, they kind of hinted at her being on SmackDown about a year or so ago. Part of Metaphor, had that great solo match against Piper Niven. They trusted her to go over to Saudi Arabia. They were the only NXT stars to do that in that great fatal four-way women's tag title match. So she's been trusted with a lot of great opportunities, has stood opposite Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. So Lash has been ready. We've been saying she's been ready. And now she's put in that space to go against someone who she warred against just a couple of months ago. So exciting to see what's happening right now with Jade Cargill. Well, her too. We'll get to that. But excited to see what's happening with Lash Legend for sure.
And that's a question I was going to ask you as well. The last time we saw Lash Legend and Nia Jax in the same space, they were warring against each other. They had a feud. They had a match. And now they're alongside each other. We've not yet had any type of explanation as to how that's happened or why. Do you think we need to at this point?
Well, they addressed it very, very briefly in that first interview where they had Nia and Lash backstage. And Nia very briefly mentioned, just a quick one line, hey, we went to war before. Now I know I can trust her. And boom, they went that way. So, you think about teams, I think, immediately when I think about two people who were at war that became a great tag team, I think about The Bar,
Of course, every time.
Cesaro and Sheamus. What many people don't realize is one of the greatest tag teams of all time that started off as opponents were the Dudley Boys. So you look at these two, and they've gone on to, win over 20 tag team championships, all of the things. So there are lots of great tag teams that are formed by two people who were enemies or on opposing sides. That's something we don't often see in the women's ranks. So I'm excited what this team is going to mean. And again, they kind of feel like a Twin Towers, skyscrapers, kind of intimidating tag team. So they don't necessarily need to have more of an explanation than the one line did, because here's the thing. They work so well together. And the feud in NXT was relatively brief. So, some people may have not have, but I think the one line that they had in there is enough to address it.
And going back to Lash Legend and her time in NXT, as we were saying, the last few weeks, few months, we were wondering whether she was going to get her push, whether there's anything going on. It felt as though she was kind of just being used as someone to help others or put over others. Do you feel, if this is now her spot on the main roster, do you feel her time in NXT was used correctly? Could they have done more before actually moving her to the main roster?
There are those who would say that her NXT run was not complete without a championship. I would beg to differ. Some of the greatest names to come out of NXT did not win championships. This is where you can cue before leaving NXT, that is, cue up Becky Lynch, who ended up going back to win an NXT championship. Cue Bianca Belair, cue Jade Cargill, right? Like, we have several names of absolute stars who did not leave NXT with a championship. I think they used Lash very well, and here's why. People forget that a few years ago, Lash Legend was part of what many called the worst match in NXT history.
True.
It was her against Saray. It was a match that was so bad that, they literally went through edits to try to make the match work. It had to be presented on tape delay because it was deemed that bad. So to take someone from there who was brand new to pro wrestling, who was a basketball player, and it was kind of hard to get her to make the transition, and now she can debut and be a part of one of the most pivotal matches in all of WWE history, WarGames. Oh, they used that time absolutely well, because if they didn't, they wouldn't launch her in WarGames.
And it's like you said, to have her in that match isn't no small thing. They could have had a Julia. They could have had a Chelsea Green.
Right.
They could have, it may be still possible. I don't think so much now. They could have had Bailey. They could have. There are so many names. I mean, it kind of looks as though it's going to be Becky Lynch and AJ Lee on the other, on the other side to complete the teams. But then there are so many other women that have been on the main roster for a while, that have maybe even won championships, that are bigger names, all that kind of thing, for them to have chosen to write into the storyline on either team, on either side. But yet, Lash Legend is the one that's in there. And I think for me, with that being, not so much her debut, but her debut as part of the main roster, that definitely shows how much trust and potential that they see in her as well, completely. We've seen, I like to call the women's WarGames match the EO Sky match, because she's been in every single one. So, and we've seen just how important that has been for her, as well as Rhea Ripley as well, who's been in most of them as well. I believe every single one as well, I think. We've seen how people these matches have been for those two. do you feel as though this match, specifically this match, will show us what WWE almost intend to do with Lash Legend moving forward? Or would
I
it be
think
too
so.
early to say that?
No, I think it's going to be definitely a sign. If you think about it, both she and Nia Jax being kind of the tallest and most imposing figures outside of Rhea Ripley in this match, they create some issues for Rhea Ripley because Rhea versus Nia is an issue, but Rhea versus Lash is an issue. And so to be able to have a scenario where that's the case, and here's the deal with Lash, we get to see Lash unleashed. And that's something we haven't seen before. We've seen Lash with a lot of parameters around her inside of a tag team, all of the things. But to be in a scenario where violence is expected and preferred, you now get to have this monster fully unleashed. So, imagine what kinds of things she can do to an Io Sky. What kinds of things she can do to Alexa Bliss. I mean, we saw her already choke her like a rag doll, very China-esque of her. So I think we're going to definitely get to see this match establish Lash Legend, not as the former college basketball star, not as the new recruit that has come through the NIL program, but as a certifiable monster who actually supports Nia Jax, but then on her own right, can stand on her own 2 feet. We've not had a scenario in WWE where there have been 2 female monsters. We're going to have that post WarGames. And I think the clips that they're going to be able to pull from this are going to be incredible. Highlight reel moments for sure. I mean, think about what Lash has already done. She's already solidified that forearm as a thing, already. And I don't think that was planned. That felt very much like, now here's irony for you. This is very much like the same forearm that Nia Jax pulled off on Becky Lynch, making Becky Lynch the man. And that happened, of course, when? Right before Survivor Series.
Correct.
So we're literally seeing, again, kind of the second coming of a female dominant monster. Couple that with, what they're doing with the current women's champion, and we've got a whole new wrinkle right now over there on SmackDown in the women's division.
I love that we can name a few different women who are, tall, powerful. You've got your Lash Legend, Nia Jax, Rhea Ripley, Jade Cargill, of course. Yeah. It was something that was unheard of, apart from China was the only one. And anyone else that there was, you kind of just didn't know about them. There was no focus on them and all the rest of it. So it's nice to see that there is, out of the 10 women that are going to be in this match, at least 3 of them are in that same category. And that's going to make things very, very interesting come the match as well. And also, even the lead up to the match, it's almost like Lash Legend has actually been the focal point.
Right.
So even though it's all about Rhea Ripley and doing the big entrance, whenever there's the beatdown section, Lash Legend has been the focal point. It was Lash Legend that caused the Kabuki Warriors to end up winning the tag team championships as well. Lash Legend that helped Nia Jax beat Charlotte Flair. She's been the focal point. So I'm hoping that it carries on into the match and then continues on from there. And it's going to be interesting to see just how they use her moving forward. Very, very interesting indeed. Speaking of the powerhouses, and we've mentioned her name already, the current WWE Women's Champion, of course, that is Jade Cargill. She has had her first match as champion. It wasn't an official defense, but at the same time, she defeated BFAB. Again, something that you said last time we spoke about Jade after she won the championship is just feed her different people. And I think for me, BFAB was like a very good start. It seems as though Mia Yim is probably going to be the next one. And another thing that was very interesting the week before, when she made her first address as the champion, is that she finally called herself that B on WWE TV. How did that feel, hearing that coming from Jade in that moment? And what do you think it means for her moving forward?
I think what WWE has managed to do is combine the best of both worlds for Jade Cargill. I think when they first started her, they wanted her to be this towering babyface, which we knew she couldn't be. But her popularity, the popularity of her signing, is what made people initially cheer for her. But the real reason we loved Jade Cargill was because she was this trash-talking, no-nonsense Amazon who, when we saw her, people, the only thing they could say was, oh, well, she hasn't been in the ring very long. You couldn't deny her presence. Her confidence blew people away. And so now we bring those elements from AEW, coupled with now the ring prowess that she has. Wow. Like this is a necessary move. And again, it differentiates her from everybody else in the company. It differentiates. And this is what I love about this. We can now draw lines in the sand between Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, Lash Legend, Rhea Ripley. Nobody's a carbon copy of anybody. They all are their own distinct characters who you can recognize. You're not going to confuse Lash Legend with Jade Cargill. You're not going to confuse them because they each bring about something very, very different. And I think that is the real win in all of this, is that Jade Cargill gets to stand on her own and not be a carbon copy of anybody else, but be a pure reflection of her. She's no China. She's no Nicole Bass. She's none of these other names. She is Jade Cargill, and she's the women's champion. And so there's a lot to be said for that. And so I loved the fact that the promo was very short, that it didn't have to be long. And then you're just coming in and you're beating people, talking about where's my competition? Is this the best you have for me? Yes, this is what we need. Because quite frankly, when you're talking about a championship reign, it's more interesting to watch, the good guy chase after the bad guy who's a champion. And maybe they'll achieve it and maybe they won't. So now the question is, who's going to be the one to attempt to successfully step up to Jade Cargill? And right now, I think we could probably call Keith Sweat. The answer is nobody.
And this is true, because even with everything that's going on as well, obviously with the Survivor Series, WarGames, everyone else is distracted from focusing on Jade Cargill, focusing on championships and all the rest of it. So for the next couple of weeks, for the next few weeks, it has to be that way. It has to be a Mia Yim, it has to be a B-Fab, and anyone else that might throw at her as well. And it also gives Jade time to establish the dominance, to establish the powerhouse that she is, and a no-nonsense champion that she clearly wants to be and has to be in this moment in time as well. Would you say it's still very early to kind of determine who her next feasible or credible title challenger could be?
Yeah, it's probably too early. I think they're going to just continue to feed her, the Mia Yims of the world, and whoever else comes through there. I think that's the way to go. And if you consider it, after Survivor Series, we've got John Cena's last match for Saturday night's main event. And then likely another Saturday night's main event hitting end of January before we hit Royal Rumble, which I believe is in top of February or something like that. So understanding all of that. Yeah, that's right. Because Royal Rumble is in Saudi in 2026, if I remember correctly.
That's correct. Yeah.
Early Feb. So early February. So with that said, this is all of the right time to build up Jade Cargill as a dominant champion. And so I think they're going to do that. Whoever gets the call, good luck, because you're going to get hurt. And that's the way it should be with Jade Cargill, certainly early on as champion.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree because I can't see it happening in any other way. It's the way
Right.
we've said it already a couple of times that it
Mhm.
has to be. It'd be too difficult to pour up against a Charlotte Flair, for example.
Right.
To see Charlotte Flair lose to a Jade Cargill this early on would probably be not the best thing to do for Charlotte.
Right.
Probably almost too much for Jade. You still have to do it in a way that builds her, makes her credible as a champion. And, yes, she's done whatever she needed to do before becoming a champion. But as a champion, there's still,
Right.
it's almost like the conveyor belt starts again.
Yes, absolutely.
You have to start from the bottom in some respects, and reestablish yourself as well. So it's definitely the best way for it to go. It's going to be interesting to see who these who the food is
Yes.
in coming up to Christmas and stuff. But I think as well, Royal Rumble or that lead up to Royal Rumble, I think will give us a very good idea as to who her first real credible opponent will be, and hopefully, I think you said this last time. I think hopefully, whoever wins that Royal Rumble will come for Jade, as opposed to a Stephanie, if Stephanie's still the champion at that point as well.
Right.
I think it's more than likely. So hopefully that means that Bianca Belair wins the Royal Rumble.
If poor Bianca can heal that knuckle, good Lord.
Yeah, because it's taken a while. It's taken a while.
It is.
Someone else who has very much established herself as both a heel and a champion, and we mentioned her before, but more has happened since, is Kalani Jordan.
Yes.
The current TNA Knockouts world champion. She has made it just straight down the middle. She doesn't care about NXT. She doesn't care about anyone else. She's in this for herself. She's going to create, she's going to have her say. It's all about her. And now she's already defended her championship twice against the Elegance brands, M and what's the other one's name? I can't remember the other one's name now.
I'm forgetting her name, but I see exactly who it is. Yeah.
In both, again, good matches. Great showing from Kalani. Credible enough opponents, both former Knockouts tag team champions, of course, and stablemates with Kalani's former mentor, Ash by Elegance. So now we know that she's going against Lei Ying Lee and Jordan Grace in a triple threat match. What are her chances? What is the outcome of this match? And why is it important for Kalani to come out on top?
In terms of the outcome, I do think Kalani retains. And I think she retains because she's proving that she's the right person to be the Knockouts world champion. That championship has done quite a bit. It has seemingly been reserved for whoever is deemed the upper echelon in TNA. So, I think about Gail Kim. I think about an Awesome Kong. I think about Jordan Grace. The women who have held that championship have certainly been deserving. What was going to be interesting to me was going to be this reign for Ash by Elegance. Considering all that she did not necessarily do in NXT or in WWE, to get to the space where she can now be deemed the world champion was going to be an interesting watch. Obviously, as the cards would have it, we would not know what that title reign would look like. So what's the best place to put this championship after an Ash by Elegance, who the championship was definitely going to build her? Kalani Jordan. Kalani Jordan, who the first ever NXT North American Women's Champion, someone who you could argue has kind of followed the footsteps of a Trick Williams of sorts. And now she gets a different spin on it. It starts with, oh my goodness, I'm just so glad for this opportunity, and I'm going to just support TNA because I'm holding their championship. And then everything starts to change. And we finally start to see, kind of the part of Kalani where she's her. And I love that they recognize this, I love that that's not hidden. So I think that there's so much that they get to do with Kalani Jordan, all while building Kalani Jordan to become a household name in one of the most respected women's divisions in all of pro wrestling. Say what you want, the longevity and the legacy of the knockouts division in TNA will always make it one of the most important women's divisions in pro wrestling.
Definitely.
So for her to be able to get a win over Laying Lee, who I still think at some point should become a champion, and then Jordan Grace, arguably one of the most important women's champions in TNA, that's going to really, really, really build Kalani even more, which is what we want to see in this space.
What I find interesting is obviously the arc of how it's all happened. As you said, you know, this whole nice, you know, happy to be here, to being kicked out of the locker room.
Right.
And obviously, you know, she's now a heel. Do you feel, with the way it's happened, do you feel a sympathy for her, or is it kind of like baby throwing her toys out of the pram type of situation?
You know what I like about this? This is giving Bret Hart 1997. You know, remember when Bret Hart was a villain in the United States, but all around the world he was well loved?
Yeah.
I mean, so here it is in NXT, you know, because they kicked her out of the locker room. All right, I don't need this, blah, blah, blah. But then she goes over to TNA. Hey, we'll welcome you in here. Like, we'll hold on to you. Her battles are against people who are supposed to be villains, like, you know, the Elegance brand. So it is, and the fans are like, I think I'm still cheering for Kalani. She's not doing any of the evil stuff that she does in NXT. This is very much Bret Hart 1997, and I like this. I like it because now it means, all right, you have to pay attention to both brands to see what she's gonna do, and then decide, do I want to cheer for Kalani or not? All the while, she's establishing herself with her own era as a TNA Knockouts Women's Champion.
You know, there was one thing that happened at Turning. I think it was at Turning Point or the TNA's last episode, which epitomizes everything that you've just said. She's come out, and I think like she gave a T-shirt to one of the little girls in the crowd.
Yeah,
and the little girl did not know what to do. She was like, wait, do I take this or not? Is she a heel?
Yeah.
Is she a nice person? Wait, she's giving me something. What?
Right.
And I was like, oh, wow, this is what's going on. Wherever she goes, it's different wherever she goes. And I love that dynamic. I love that there's it's happening. I actually love that there is that confusion because, you know, on one hand, her being a heel in NXT is because of jealousy.
Yes.
Not because of her own actions, but because of how she's reacted to other people's actions.
Yes.
Whereas in TNA, she's coming in, and there's still a respect for her. You know, we saw a backstage interview with Laying Lee, Zaya Brookside, and Mara Sade talking about, you know, they've got, you know, it's a respect thing, but they want the championship, they want to face her, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas that type of interview backstage would not happen in NXT right now.
No.
You know, I mean, from anybody, whether face or heel. So I like that we've had that. And I love the interaction that she had with Trick Williams as well.
Yes.
Where he was like, well, this is what I told you. This is how it's going to happen. This is how you might have to deal with things. So deal with it what you need to, and you'll be okay. And again, you know, she said, I am her, which is very, very interesting. Very interesting indeed. I don't know whether that's a little one-off thing or we're going to see that a little bit more. However it is, I love the fact that it was acknowledged in some way. I do hope it's going to be a regular thing. But it does beg the question, now that we've seen Lash Legend on SmackDown and we're waiting for this imminent move for Trick Williams to the main roster, the usual thing is, with them being a couple, very serious couple, they live together now, all the rest of it, does that give away where Trick Williams is going to end up when it comes to the main roster?
That's interesting. I had not considered that. I think where this gets interesting is, okay, where will Trick be most useful?
Mm, mm,
Will it be on a Monday Night Raw or will it be on SmackDown? That I think is the real question. So do they need him for the Netflix ratings? Do they need him for the USA ratings?
mm,
What does that look like? And then I've been hearing rumors of SmackDown potentially returning to 3 hours. If it
mm,
returns to 3 hours, they're going to need some additional stars.
for sure.
So it would make sense for him to end up there. You think about the potential matches. So this to me feels like a brilliant moment to have a rematch between Trick Williams and Ilya Dragunov for the US Championship.
Ooh,
Like that, that would just be
ooh,
brilliant to see, you know.
mm,
At some point, it feels like Trick obviously would come in as a heel. So do we get Trick Mello again as a
mm,
battle, given Mello's current trajectory? Or does Trick come in and help bring Mello kind of back to his senses of sorts?
mm,
So SmackDown certainly makes sense. I mean, you've got some opportunities, of course, on Monday Night Raw. I think Raw has a ton of star power right now where Trick could potentially get lost. I mean, you've got
mm-hmm,
CM Punk as your world champion. I mean,
mm-hmm,
you've got John Cena currently as the Intercontinental Champion,
mm,
right? You've
mm,
got Judgment Day doing all that it's doing. And there's just a lot of star power over there on Monday Night Raw. So the
mm,
question will ultimately be, where can Trick Williams shine and not get lost? And
mm,
right now, take away the Lash Legend piece, that still looks like SmackDown is the space.
mm, mm, mm. I mean, for me, I completely agree because unless it is that whole dream that I had was and still have of
Yeah.
him being a part of the vision,
Right.
I can't see him being of any real not any use, but any standing out
Mm-hmm.
on Monday Night Raw.
Right.
As opposed to SmackDown, there's a space for him easily. We can write in. It would be so much easier to throw him in, and then with the United States Championship Open Challenge, there's a piece there that writes itself in terms of how he could be introduced to
Yeah,
SmackDown as well,
for
very
sure.
much. And even without that, there are still so many ways he could be introduced. I don't know if it might be too early to run any kind of power couple type of thing with Lash Legend
Mm-hmm.
at any point as well. That's a
Mm-hmm.
possibility at some point. So it is sadly looking a little bit more likely that Trick Williams will end up on SmackDown. Again, the better option in terms of logistically and all the
Yeah.
rest of it, star power, ratings,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things. Um, but Trick alongside Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed, and Logan
I
Paul
love
and
it.
Paul Heyman would have been
Brilliant.
insane,
Yeah,
insane. But it's looking a little less likely that's going to
hmm
happen. But my fingers are still crossed, my toes are still crossed. But
sure.
SmackDown does
Yeah.
make a little bit more sense, and I don't think it matters. I don't think it really matters wherever he goes. It's going to
Mhm.
have the impact it needs for both him, for the
Yeah.
ratings, for for the shows. I don't think it matters. He's in that place now where you could throw him anywhere, do anything with
Right.
him,
Hmm.
and it's going to work.
Yeah.
It's going to work. I have more. I don't think I'd ever say this, but I'd have more faith in Trick Williams' career than Carmelo Hayes' career. Damn, I actually said it. I
Wow.
actually said that. I've just said that.
Wow. You did.
I've just
But
said
I
that.
understand.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand. I think this is actually an interesting discussion because
Mm,
part of the issue that lies with Carmelo Hayes, yes, he has tons of charisma and personality.
yep,
He's also an incredible wrestler, and
yep,
he has
for sure.
leaned far more on being the incredible wrestler than the personality.
Mm,
And
mm,
I think
mm,
what has
mm.
happened is, remember, it's always World Wrestling Entertainment.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, the fan base of the WWE, hey, we love a good match for
Hmm.
sure. but there needs to be personality that people latch onto for them to be able to rock with it. So for instance, and this is interesting, you know, when you look at how WWE has somewhat structured its television program, and I think about SmackDown specifically, the space for the great wrestling is going to lie inside the US Open Challenge. Whether it was Sami Zayn who would give us bangers, or now we've got Ilya Dragunov. So once you do that, you don't need another hour and a half of that. You're going to need, again, something to fill the entertainment role, something to fill the promo role, you know, and all of the above. But it doesn't have to be a technical masterpiece like we've been getting with the US Open Challenge. Problem for a Carmelo Hayes is he's a technical wizard. So there's only so far that he will go, especially as an African-American male technical wizard. Cue Shelton Benjamin, right? Look at Shelton Benjamin's WWE career. As a wrestler, if you're just looking at in-ring technician, should have been a WWE world champion. But from a personality perspective, because that never really connected, he always stayed either around the tag team space or the mid-card intercontinental title space. The ones who cracked over into the main event space were the ones with heavy personality. Cue Bobby Lashley, cue Kofi Kingston, cue Big E, cue The Rock. They all had that personality and that charisma that people would go, I can latch onto that and not think of them as a specific black world champion. This is the problem right now with Carmelo Hayes. It's the thing that nobody wants to talk about. He's actually too good for his own good. He's too good for his own good. Meanwhile, you take a Trick Williams, who we've watched improve, not a technical wizard, but he gets the job done, delivers the message, tells the story, and he's got something we latch onto. They're still screaming, whoop that trick. What's the thing that we're screaming about Carmelo Hayes? We don't have anything that we're screaming about. That's why you were able to say you feel more comfortable about the career of Trick Williams, because Trick figured out what WWE actually needed. They need personality, they need charisma, they need entertainment, and that's why both he and Lash are going to be just fine.
And here's the thing, they are so similar as well. Lash and Trick are so similar in so many ways. You know, technically they're not the greatest, but we've seen the improvement, and I think that alone is enough to get us excited. You know, both of them can talk and can hold their own in the promo game, on the mic, against whoever they've had to talk with and argue with and whatnot as well. Trick Williams could do it all day long. We could have a 2-hour SmackDown with Trick Williams just speaking, and then we'll turn off the TV. You know, and there is still room for improvement with that with him. It's crazy, and what's crazy is as well, you know, when we first saw Trick with Carmelo back in NXT, we were like, we like this Shawn Michaels Diesel-esque type of thing. But it's gone way past that now to where, you know, the Diesel is the Kevin Nash. But the Shawn Michaels isn't quite going to be the Shawn Michaels. We didn't expect that to happen. And it's a nice surprise, and it's a shame we're not seeing certain things for Carmelo. But as you said, I think it is a case of, and this is a good thing in a way. It's interesting how he is too good for the WWE in that respect, or in the way that the WWE works, at least anyway. The technical side of things is great. He can talk on the mic, but when, you know, my only thing when I say what I say about comparing the two, or having more faith in one's career than the other, is because of the fear of how WWE works, and not so much the talent, Carmelo himself. If given the opportunity, it kind of almost feels like we've got a case study now in Ricochet. Whereas Ricochet was the greatest guy on the independents for 10 years or so. comes into NXT. We're thinking he's going to be the biggest thing in WWE. He does well in NXT. Comes into WWE and he hit a block.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, who was this guy? What? This guy was the greatest person on the Indies. What? What are you talking about?
Right.
Disappears. Now we're seeing him in AEW, and we're like, where was this guy?
Right.
In WWE?
Right.
And my fear is that that's going to happen, or a very similar thing is going to happen with Carmelo. It's very, very early to say. Very, very early to say. But given what we've seen with Ricochet, given what's happening with Carmelo at the moment, it almost feels as though that would have to be something that Carmelo would have to do in order for us to really see the guy that we want to see. Because it's just not happening at the moment. And it's scary. He is part of the John Cena The Last Time Is Now tournament and faces, is it Bronson Reed?
Yes, it is Bronson
Reed. I think we know who's going to win that. Because and I'm not just saying that because it's Carmelo, but I'm saying that also because of the tournament itself. It's always every match has kind of been predictable.
It has.
Which is weird.
It has. It's very
weird.
Bit
disappointing. Which is a bit disappointing. Which also brings me on to Javon Evans. Okay, yes, he faces Gunther. We kind of knew what was going to happen, but it is a shame that Javon has not gone to the next round, at least to the next round, to kind of give us something to get excited about.
Right.
With the matches that have happened, with the results that we've seen, with the winners that there have been so far, in your mind, do you see someone who you feel should be that final opponent for John Cena? Because we've got Sheamus, Rusev, Gunther, Solo Sikoa, LA Knight. I think that's
Jey
it
Uso.
so far. Oh, and Jey Uso. That's 7 so far, right? Yeah, I think that's correct.
And then the final match will be, I guess, this weekend on SmackDown for the last qualifier.
There's a few more. There's a couple more that are coming through.
Yeah, right now it would stand to reason that probably the leading name would be Gunther, just given his history. I think Jey Uso would be an interesting match as a fun callback to the Royal Rumble when they were the last two in the Rumble. The thing is, Jey Uso really needs something right now. You know, he's a case study for How the Mighty Have Fallen. Like you almost can't believe that this was the guy that won the Royal Rumble this year and won the world title at WrestleMania. Just doesn't seem like the same guy. And I don't think that with his current trajectory, that his name is the right name as the final opponent for John Cena. In terms of the other ones that are there, I mean, like, Gunther just seems to be the standout. I mean, Sheamus, sure, you got a story there, and that would be a great match, and that could work. I mean, we may end up in a scenario where it comes down to Sheamus versus Gunther in the finals of that tournament. That would be fun to watch because there's a case that could be made for either of them. But in terms of, you know, the others who have made it, no, I don't see it. I just see Gunther and potentially Sheamus.
For me, Gunther's definitely at the top. Definitely at the top there. Again, it's likely that whoever wins, you know, or whoever faces Cena will also become the Intercontinental Champion as well.
Right.
As most likely they will beat Cena retirement match. Usually, whoever's going out takes the fall. But yeah, it's difficult to see. I think everyone else that we've mentioned, I believe Gunther is the only person so far who hasn't faced John Cena before.
Yeah, I think LA Knight has not faced Cena either.
Okay,
but I'm not interested in that though.
Nah,
like that's the thing.
That's not something you want to. No, we don't really. I don't think it. And I think that's more to do with both of them being good guys as well.
Well, for me, I think it has more to do with LA Knight. LA Knight just has lost his. I know there's some people who love him and whatnot, but I just think he's that momentum that he was riding on a couple of years ago. It's way gone. It's way gone. So to be again for a match at some point against John Cena during this, okay, cool, you know, but for a final match,
certainly not.
It's gotta be Gunther. Gunther is kind of the last major hill to climb, and certainly this generation's most dominant wrestler. It's Gunther. So it's Cena being able to say, all right, can I beat the best of this generation? It makes much more sense.
And yeah, like I said, it's interesting how most of them faced Cena before. Solo Sikoa is obviously, has beaten him.
Right.
Sheamus, Rusev. I think that, Rusev, Sheamus as well. But I think them having a match, alongside each other on Raw the other day kind of tells me that them against each other is not going to happen. Right. So yeah, Gunther literally is the only one. Obviously, Bronson Reed's on the other side, hasn't had his match yet. Finn Balor and Penta also have a match as well in the first round. I don't see I don't see either of them being a final match for John Cena at all.
Though I wouldn't be mad at a Finn Balor. That would be fun, I think.
Yeah.
I guess I'm still very much NXT Finn Balor or New Japan Finn Balor. So if that Finn Balor shows up, it's great. Penta would be fun, but again, the final opponent, it just seems like Gunther's a lock for that.
Yeah. Gunther has to be that final one. A Finn Balor maybe 6 months ago. Because there was a point he just felt as though we were right. They were bringing him up a little bit, but then that momentum's again kind of just disappeared. He's kind of come behind Dom Mysterio again in this whole Judgment Day thing. Gunther's the only one that makes sense. But it's a shame that we didn't see more of Javon Evans in it. We didn't see a Trick Williams turn up or an Obafemi. But speaking of an Obafemi, that last man standing match that we saw with Trick and Ricky Saints last week on NXT, insane match, of course. Saints ended up somehow retaining. And as NXT went off air, of course, we heard the music of Obafemi played just as the credits. What does this mean? Was this something that you expected to happen? And what do you think it means come tonight's episode of NXT?
Yeah, so to your point, no, I did not expect to see Obafemi show up on NXT television ever again, to be perfectly honest with you.
Right.
I feel like, when he lost the title, that was a good enough swan song, and we're good. What I think this is doing is this is an attempt to establish Ricky Saints as a credible NXT men's champion.
For sure.
And it says that they don't have enough men to serve as credible challengers. So let's get the last two major NXT champions, have him go against them, establish them, beat them, send them out of NXT, and then let's start working on these other spaces. So that's where I think we are with this. I thought on a social clip that I heard Obafemi refer to, I'll see you at Deadline, or maybe he said that at Gold Rush. I don't remember which one. But either way, it seems like we've got an imminent rematch. I'll say this. If Ricky Saints beats Obafemi twice, you gotta, we will have to not look at Ricky Saints as just, okay, all right, you beat Trick, you beat Oba twice, all right, you're the guy. The
difficult part of that is Obafemi being Obafemi.
Right.
Not Ricky Saints being Ricky Saints.
Right.
So it's not us looking at Ricky Saints thinking, "Oh, you shouldn't be a champion." It's not that at all in the slightest. It's us looking at Ricky Saints thinking, "You beat Obafemi twice, huh?"
Right.
Like
This is this is why for me they don't need a rematch. It's
exactly.
boy, there's going to be trouble on this one. This is akin to why you didn't give a rematch to JC Jane against Stephanie Vacour. It was one and done. That's it. We deal with the aftermath and let it be. I think you do more damage to Obafemi. Well, no. I take it back. I actually think you do more damage to Ricky Saints.
Okay.
For this rematch, because the question now becomes: did we ever believe that Ricky could beat Oba? Once, okay, you flip on a banana peel, anything can happen. Twice, absolutely not.
And I think for me, what should have happened with those two is that they have a match. Ricky Saints loses the first one, and then has to find a way in order to win the second one.
I agree.
And that would have made a lot more sense. But for Saints to beat Obafemi twice, I think it's. Personally, I think it's damaging for both.
True.
It kind of almost like Saints beating Trick Williams twice, no problem. Absolutely no problem. Perfect way to establish him. Exactly. We've seen Trick as a world champion so many times. You know, they're not that different. Trick isn't dominant in the same way Obafemi is. And I think that was a very, very good way to establish Saints as the NXT champion. But to bring Obafemi back, I almost feel I feel as though that if we're gonna do this, if this is going to happen, the best thing to do would be for Obafemi to win. But I don't see the point in that actually happening.
Right.
There's no actual point in that happening. But if you're gonna do it, you have to do it. But then what? it's a tough one. It's a very, very difficult one. It's going to be interesting to see what happens on NXT tonight with Saints and Obafemi, how Obafemi addresses it. But I think as well, you know, with Ricky Saints and Trick, I think it was important for that last match to be a last man standing, for sure. I think the stipulation helped with the fact that Saints was going to come out on top for a second time. It's a way, if this is what's going to happen, it's a way for NXT to kind of write Trick Williams off the show with a last man standing. The match was insane. As we all saw what went down and how it all happened. So what we do with Ricky Saints and Obafemi, I don't know about you guys that are watching at the minute, but I'm a little bit worried to see what actually happens and where this goes. Jeffrey has jumped in and said a stipulation match with Obafemi and Saints. Yeah, but again, I don't think it's about whether it's a stipulation or not, or even how Saints wins. I think just having Saints beat Obafemi, just anyone, especially in NXT, just anyone beating Obafemi is crazy. Just anyone beating Obafemi twice just doesn't make sense unless they are the size of Obafemi. It's as simple as that. You know, I was saying, Gerard, that, you know, a stipulation match between the two, I don't think it matters whether it's a stipulation or not, or how Ricky Saints wins. I don't think it actually makes a difference.
So here's what I think. I mean, stipulation match being what it is, this is how we actually solve this problem. So we solve the problem at deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky Saints versus Obafemi at Deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Obafemi beats Ricky Saints, but earlier that night in the big challenge match, the scram, I forgot, I love the name of it, the Iron Survivor. Thank you.
Iron
The
Survivor.
Iron
That's
Survivor match. The winner of that happens to be Omos. Omos then chooses to cash in that night, not wait for New Year's Evil or whatever, cashes in that night, beats Obafemi. Omos is the NXT champion. Obafemi moves up to SmackDown. Game over. And now you have Ricky Saints trying to chase Omos to regain the championship. And now we got a challenge that we go, oh my God, can Ricky Saints actually do it?
I think it would definitely have to be if we're going down this route of Obafemi Saints, Obafemi winning. Then yeah, someone has to do something.
Yeah,
someone would have to do something like that kind of cash in. I mean, let's not. Oh God, no! Let's not get into the whole thing of what TNA have just done with Mike Santana.
Oh my Lord! Oh my Lord! Oh my Lord! There's still a whole conversation about that, because what did we just do? Like, for everybody who was mad about him not winning at Slammiversary, like, you ought to be livid that this man doesn't even get a successful title defense. It's crazy. And then the only reason that he has a 30-day championship reign is because TNA took off. Like, that's crazy. It's crazy. Oh my gosh.
I remember the shock value when Moose cashed in on Josh Alexander after Josh Alexander just won his TNA. I actually understood that. That made sense to me.
Yes.
No. But let's not get into
Kazarian?
it. Okay, yeah.
A whole other show. But yeah.
Wild. Boy.
It
will. How they work this one out is completely different to how they worked it out when he didn't win at Slammiversary. At least they still made it make sense, and there was still a resolve. With this, I can't even think of what that resolve is.
No.
I can't even think what that resolve is. It's crazy stuff. But I'm just saying, let's not see that type of thing in NXT.
No, please.
Oh God. Oh,
please.
No.
Oh my gosh.
No. And then all those NXT stars, the random NXT stars that attacked him. Who? What? Who?
Wait. So wait. Since we're here, you didn't get the upper echelon of NXT that cost this man his championship. The last time I checked, Brooks Jensen was on Evolve. You know, you got Evolve. Matter of fact, you had High Rise. They were on Evolve. You know, Lexus King, we rarely see these days.
Just lost the whole feud.
Right. So you've got basically Evolve guys that just cost the TNA World Champion his title. How much sense does that make?
Not even Dark State. Dark State would have made sense.
Right? If it was Dark State, okay, we could get that. That makes sense. But you have the literal bottom of the barrel for NXT guys. You would have done better by having Jackson Drake as the Evolve champion come out and do that.
True.
That would have made more sense. At least a champion impacted. Wait. And then they were led by Robert Stone, the commentator from Evolve. Commentator from Evolve putting the boots to the world champion? So let me guess. What do you have next? You have Michael Cole come out next and beat somebody down and cost them the world title? Like, what are we doing? I don't understand this. If somebody's going to cost, mind you, in a match against Ryan Nemeth. Come on.
What are we doing?
These are the things that make absolutely zero sense. 0 cents.
Bring back
basically, because this move here, the bottom of the barrel from NXT, Man,
it's upsetting because
Brooks Jensen.
If this was after a lengthy title run, again, it would still be weird because of who they are and who it was and whatnot. But I was expecting to see this guy just take TNA to not even the next level, but at least, take it by the horns on his back, all the rest of it for at least 3 months. At least 3 months.
At least.
Before someone else came along. Because at the end of the day, I'm sorry, but as legendary as Frankie Kazarian is to TNA, as good of a wrestler as he is, in terms of a build and whatnot, there was nothing. So to just throw it on him straight after is just insane. Even if it was Nick Nemeth, I'd still think this is insane.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I don't know what the resolve is. That's the scariest part, is that I can't see what the resolve is. At least when he didn't win at Slammiversary, it was like, okay, well, Trick Williams is going to be champion for a few more months.
Right.
We had the whole invasion and the Survivor Series matches and all that kind of stuff, and to build it all back up and build up a story again. He wins. TNA goes off air for 4 weeks, for 31 days.
Right.
For 31 days.
Right.
And he loses his championship on the 32nd day. What the heck?
Oh my gosh.
What the heck?
Yeah. That will definitely go down, I think, as some of the wildest and weirdest moments of 2025.
I think it is the worst booking decision of 2025, not just because it's the worst actual decision, but because of the momentum that happened, how important it was, the trajectory that, or the length of time it took, the amount that he had to go through. Even Jeff has put it in the comments, his poor daughter had to go through watching her dad lose in New York, then watch him win, cry with him, all the rest of it, and then that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow. Just wow.
And then to put it on a guy, like, can you build a brand around Frankie Kazarian? So let me get this straight. Yeah, way too late for that. That was something that should have happened easily a decade ago, but we're sitting in this space where you're talking potentially about new TV deals, all of this kind of thing, more visibility. Okay, so let's look at their world champions all year. Joe Hendry. Okay, he was super red hot. That makes sense. Trick Williams, super red hot. Makes sense. Mike Santana got super red hot. Frankie Kazarian? Yeah.
Just a bad move. They actually also needed this time in TNA to rebuild some people. I know they kind of have been, but with the focal point of the last few months being Trick Williams and Santana.
Right.
And then Trick Williams just beating people in between and whatever else. But the focal point was their story. Yeah. It left no real space for anyone else to really be built or for anyone to care about anyone else, really, more than anything.
Right.
They needed this time for Santana to hold the championship and then build others in between or during the time and whatnot. And we could have had Frankie Kazarian challenge him every now and again, or tried to cash in and was unsuccessful, or was stopped before he tried to cash in. Nick Nemeth doing the same thing, or trying to prove themselves as to why they should, or all of that. But this is just, oh God, it's difficult. It's tough. It's tough because you're now left with Frankie at the top. Santana, we've got this whole story of him. He was AWOL for a little bit and blah blah.
Right.
The only other person who could possibly be a credible challenger is the current international champion. I forget his name again.
Oh yeah, Steve Macklin.
Steve Macklin, but again, he's the international champion.
Right.
Then after that, there's literally no one else. There's literally no one else. I mean, I don't think the hometown man is going to become champion anytime soon.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not.
Oh man, but yeah, it's a tough one because even looking at the NXT ranks as well, like there's no one that can really challenge for the TNA championship. I don't know. This is a tough one. This is a tough one. Let's move away for the last few minutes that we have. Gosh, Blood and Guts happened. AW.
Yes.
Wait.
Yes.
We forgot about those. We forgot those people over on the other side. AW Blood and Guts took place. We had the first ever women's Blood and Guts match. Mercedes and MONE was involved, of course. Ended up on the winning side. Alongside Sky Blue, Julia Hart, Tekla, Megan Bain, and Marina Shafir. I'm so glad I remembered all of their names.
Yes. Well done. Well done.
A very good match, a very good showing from all women involved. Willow Nightingale, of course, on the other side as well. Very interesting the way that the women ended up winning. Tekla, Julia Hart escaping the cage in the way that they did. Getting the keys. Mercedes using half of her belt, handing out half of her belt to the team.
Right.
And all the rest of it. The girls attacking Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa in the way that they did as well. Very, very interesting. I liked it. It was nice. What was the other part of it that was interesting? Was, as I said, Mercedes was on the winning team, but she wasn't in the ring when they all held their arms up in victory. Is that a telling thing, Gerard, or am I kind of trying to make too much out of this?
Oh no, I think it's very telling. I think it is very consistent with who Mercedes MONE is. She was never a real part of this team war. You know, she was added at the last minute because Chris Statlander was on the other side. She had to, and I would argue that given all that she has done, she wants to be a part of the first anything in AEW. Right. So of course you have her as part. She doesn't need to be in the ring at the end of that. She doesn't even associate with those commoners. She's Ultimo Monet, you know. So it just makes sense that she wasn't a part of that. That seemed very, very consistent. It seemed like they didn't miss her. She gets still the winner's part of the purse. She goes down in history, and she gets to matter of fact, she did a whole lot. She contributed her championships as weapons, right? Like that was very generous of Mercedes MONE, who keeps on adding belts to her collection. I think it was very consistent with who Mercedes MONE is.
And of course, her next quest is now to face Chris Statlander at Full Gear for the AEW Women's Championship. Obviously, part of her plan was to kind of beat down on Chris Statlander, soften her up in some ways for Full Gear. I think we've asked this question already. I think we both know what our answers are or our prediction is for this match. It's a Mercedes MONE win. It would be very, very surprising if she doesn't win. What happens if she doesn't win?
If Mercedes doesn't win, she probably needs to take a break and go defend all of these other championships. And that's a very easy moment to explain. You know, she's got 12 other championships. She can go defend any of them, be it the Ring of Honor one or her new House of Glory title, or name them all, right? She can go defend one of them and do that so that she's a fighting champion in those companies, and then come back after a few months off to try to figure out how you win the big one. I think it does more harm than good for Mercedes to lose this match. She has to win. Like, and here's the wild part. her having to win actually sets up business between her and Toni Storm. Because the question is, it's like you couldn't beat the real champion, so you beat kind of the alternative to get the belt. Now let's see if you can be the real champion. But I think she has to win this match. If she doesn't, what are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing?
Right.
It screams to me that she can't win the big one, and that she's, I hate to say this, but she's an indie darling, right? Win all the titles on the independents, but don't win the big one. So it's a must win for her.
And you know, from me, I would love it to go the other way, and then purposely do this whole thing where she can't win the big one, and then that carries on for the next at least 6 months or whatever else. Because it's a shame that we're thinking that Chris Statlander is set to lose, because Chris Statlander has lost to Mercedes twice now.
Right.
So for her to lose a third time would be a bit disappointing, especially with the championship in tow or on the line. So there is still a strong possibility that Chris Statlander wins.
Yeah.
For that reason. And if that happens, then I think we should have the downfall of Mercedes.
Yes.
In terms of her losing all the belts that she's got and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then in some way, however long it takes, 6 months, a year down the line, whatever it is, she builds herself back up and then eventually wins the big one, and then we all celebrate and we're happy. It kind of almost feels as though if she wins, it's not going to feel special.
Right.
Because of these 20 million championships that she already has, that she got from people that we don't know.
Right.
From in companies that we don't know. You know what I mean? And so I kind of feel as though it should be a thing where she doesn't win, and that be a focal point. And we're saying, well, you've won all these championships in places that are seemingly, you know, that we don't know, and people that we don't know, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And that be part of the story. But it's difficult. It's difficult one. It can go either way, and you can make the most of it either way as well. But we are where we are. The other place that we are, or the other place that Mercedes is atop of the this year's PWI 200 top females in wrestling, according to, of course, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, one of, if not the most prestigious annual list of top wrestlers of the 11 to 12 month period that they set for each year. First question straight off the bat, do you feel Mercedes deserves to be named as the #1 female, basically, of 2025?
Yeah, that's hard to argue that one. That's hard to argue. You know, the evaluation period goes from October 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2025. You know, she missed last year's PWI 250 because she didn't have 10 matches.
Correct.
You know, she had like 8 or 9 or something. So she barely missed it. She would have been likely top 10 last year. The fact that the woman has 13 championships that she currently holds, you know, and has lost maybe 1 match all year long, that speaks volumes. I mean, whether people like it or not, she certainly carried AEW, but then she's done her own quest in terms of just establishing herself as the name Mercedes MONE outside of WWE. This was the year we always thought she could have, but injury plagued her. You know, other things that plagued her over time. But this time, nothing stopped her. She won virtually every championship except one, won virtually every match except one. She was unstoppable. It was a hands down, seemingly unanimous decision that Mercedes MONE would be the top female in the sport for this year.
Do you feel as though, as I've mentioned already, with the championships that she has, the opponents that she's beaten in order to win these championships, not being of the highest of credibility, do you feel that should have you know, played its part in terms of where she stood in this list?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
And I say that because, pretty much everybody outside of WWE gets the opportunity to wrestle on the independent circuit if they choose to.
Mm.
The idea, let's start with the idea that Mercedes Moné chose to wrestle on the independent circuit. That's crazy. That's insane. And she did it for one reason, to be able to win championships around the globe. That was her goal. That was her MO. So yes, there are companies whose names we probably can't rattle off. But in there, one of the first championships she won from that was the Rev Pro Championship over in the UK. That's a well-known championship. Obviously winning the she still holds the TBS championship. Somewhere in there, winning the interim Ring of Honor Women's Championship, on top of several of the other titles that she has gotten her hands on. It has moved from the credibility of the champions to the credibility of the champion. And she is credible. That's the thing. When you can go into all of these other promotions and still be successful in your home promotion, AEW. It's not like she won those titles but then lost a bunch of matches over in AEW. That wasn't the case at all. So she's definitely done it. And those championships, while some might think may have taken away from her status, I think honestly it's the overwhelming reason why she is number one. If Mercedes Moné only has the TBS championship and has the same kind of year, but only the TBS championship, she's not the number one wrestler in the world.
You know what?
It goes to Toni Storm.
I was actually going to argue that even if you take away the championships from the promotions that we don't know about, so the European ones, the Polish, the Italian, all of those, but she still had the holds the TBS, breaks the record as well,
right?
Undefeated, has the matches that she had with Toni Storm. Also wins the ROH interim, CMLL Women's Championship as well. Wins the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. She still has a very strong, strong argument for being number one.
Strong argument, I think, with those 4 championships. In my mind, though, I think, again, Toni Storm giving her the only loss of the year.
Yeah, true.
As the AEW Women's World Champion, would put Toni Storm at number one. If you look at it, Toni Storm comes in at number 2 this year. And I think the only reason that happens is because Mercedes has 12 belts and has done something. Think about what she's done. We could attempt to minimize it by saying, hey, we can't rattle off all the promotions. We don't know all the people she won. She defeated, but there's not been a woman in the history of pro wrestling who has held 13 championships simultaneously. You had the space where the Fabulous Moolah was the champion for 28 years. That was its own thing. But in terms of, they did this. Think about the only times they did this. Kenny Omega, where he won multiple championships as a belt collector.
I think he had 7 at the most at one point.
One time. FTR as a tag team who had multiple tag team championships. And then you go back to the Ultimo Dragon. You're talking 2000, 1999 or something like that. It's never happened with a woman before.
Never.
So we're talking history on so many levels. You take that away, Mercedes Moné is not number one because that's where and here's why. Toni Storm beat her. She holds a secondary championship in the company that she works in. And then she lost to their world champion. So those other 12 belts are necessary for this number one ranking for Mercedes. Other than that, she had a great year. She'd be number 2, and nobody could argue that.
Of course.
These additional championships are what make her number one, and that to me, that seems to be what has defined the year for her.
And I think the other part as well that people forget, or maybe even just we forgot within this discussion, is the level of matches that she's had every single time.
Yes.
As well.
Yes. Yes.
You know, and we're going mainly by the ones that we've seen on TV, but that alone is more than enough to go by. We mentioned Chris Statlander already, Tony Storm, Minoru Kara, you know, some of the other matches that she's had.
The bangers with Athena.
Always. Bangers with always great matches every single time, regardless of the build-up or the lack thereof, regardless of what was on the line, always banging matches. And that is also part of the criteria with this list as well. So, I believe we are in a space where when really stop and you think about it, it is undeniable that she is number one. And like you said, she's done something that no one else has ever done. You can't take that away. You can't rewrite that. It's something so for that reason alone, you know, every reason to be at number one. Within the list, did you see anything that stood out to you in terms of the African American females, as in anyone that was, you know, a certain position, or probably should have argued should have been higher? Anything that stood out for you within the list?
Well, one of the big standouts is that you have 3 African American women in the top 10.
Yes, for sure.
Mercedes at number 1. You got Athena at number 7, which again, Athena, you know, there's an argument to be made that Athena could have been higher, considering she hit the 1,000 day mark. But I think this again goes back to the argument with Mercedes Moné. Athena as the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion and holding that championship alone was not enough for Athena. Even though she made history, all of those things, that's where the caliber of the championship comes in when there aren't other extenuating circumstances. Here's somebody, I mean, if you think about it, you know, her last few years, she's been in the top 10 every for the last 2 years, dating back to 2023. She's been Ring of Honor Women's World Champion that whole time. So there's an argument to be made that something is wrong with the caliber of the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. If she's not able to crack the top 5 based on having been champion for 1,000 days, the longest standing champion in the history of Ring of Honor, male or female, that's a thing. And there's probably a larger discussion for that. The other one that really made me very, very happy was to see Naomi crack the top 10.
Yes.
You know, she's only cracked the top 10 2 other times in her career. That's in 2015 when she was number 7 and 2017 when she was number 9. And I would make the argument that as she comes in at number 9 this year, that this year was a better year for her than, wait, back up, Gerard. Let me think that through.
Was 2017?
2017, 2015. No. I'm gonna stand on that. I'm gonna stand that this is a better year for a couple of reasons. Number one, in this period from October of 2024 to September 2025, she was a women's tag team champion. She had a singles match at WrestleMania, the first women's singles match that did not involve a championship. She was in high caliber matches all year long. We finally got the Naomi heel turn that we've been looking for. The business that she did with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill was absolutely legendary. She won the women's Money in the Bank. She then successfully cashed it in at Evolution and won the championship, had a major title defense at SummerSlam, arguably her biggest SummerSlam match to date, defeating Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, and only relinquished the championship because of pregnancy. So from where I sit, this is a space where at number 9, she's ranked too low.
How this
woman is not... how she's not top 5 right now is crazy. Let's talk about top 5. You got Mercedes at number 1, Toni Storm at number 2, Saya Kamatani at number 3, Tiffany Stratton at number 4, which is a problem for me, and Stephanie Vicor at number 5. I personally think that, and maybe I'm being a little biased here, but Saya Kamatani probably could have dropped down to number 6, given, again, the visibility that Naomi had in this last year. There's no way Naomi should have been number 9. You know, Tiffany, I think she had a better year than Tiffany Stratton. Now, some would say because Tiffany Stratton had a lengthy reign, but Naomi did more, I think, in that time period. Number 6 is Io, who Io had a great year. Number 7 is Athena. And then number 8 is Saray. So, you know, the argument to me that can be made is that Naomi should have been higher. I mean, what I just rattled off in this year, if anybody else did that, it would have been higher. It would have been higher.
Easily.
Easily.
There might be an argument for the last few months, obviously inactive. The last few months, obviously.
But she was only inactive 1 month of the 12-month evaluation period. Remember, the evaluation period ended September. It ended September 30th.
Correct.
So that 1 month, I mean, what she did in the other 11 months makes that 1 month no problem. No problem. Yeah. So
very, very interesting, actually.
That to me is a thing. Rhea Ripley comes in at number 10, which, you know, I get that. Certainly nobody can question that Naomi had a better year than Rhea. But I don't know that, I still don't know that Tiffany Stratton had a better year than Naomi. I don't think
Tiffany
so.
Stratton, the only thing I can say, she beat Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania, but she beat
Charlotte at WrestleMania,
which is great.
She cashed in at the top of the year to win the championship, but none of her other title defenses screamed, ooh. No, it didn't do that. No, Naomi moved the needle. She moved the needle. Naomi gave us, a whole thing, man. And so that would be my biggest thing. The other one that I will briefly mention is shout out to Charity King, who comes at number 86 this year.
Oh,
She's
amazing.
the inaugural Ashe Wrestling Women's Champion. It's her first year making the PWI 250. Last year, of course, her and Danny B as the King Bees were part of the PWI 150 that's chronicling the 150 best tag teams. But for her to make it on this list as the inaugural Ashe Wrestling Women's Champion, absolutely phenomenal. But I do think that Naomi deserves a much higher place on the list this year.
Most definitely. Shout out to also Soruka.
Yes.
Who's in at 23. He wasn't in there last year due to injuries, not being active enough. I believe Kalani Jordan's gone up since last year's one as well. She's at number 40. So shout out to her on that as well. And there's quite a few names. Willow
Nightingale number 27.
Zara Zaka's in there somewhere as well. I remember seeing that. There's quite a few names.
Rio is 34.
Yep, Rio at 34. Yep, that's amazing.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's actually really big. That's actually really big. As well. Yeah, man. There's quite a few names, and it's going to be interesting to take a look at
Aminata at 47.
Oh wow.
Yeah, huge for Queen Aminata. I'm very proud of her, and I think had there not been injury, she would have been in Blood and Guts as well, and that would have been great. Shout out to Red Velvet, number 52.
Wow. Just above
winning
Jade Cargill at 53.
Yeah. How crazy is that? Now, again, Jade I think Jade's year, when we do this next year, I think we're looking at a much different thing for Jade Cargill.
Very different thing. 53 does make sense.
Yeah. Bianca at 56 makes sense given, we haven't really seen her in the ring since WrestleMania. But shout out to Jada Stone. Her first year at number 57. So some really big moves. Jada Parker at number 63. Outstanding.
Trish Dora 87.
Yeah.
Yes, a good few.
Lash Legend number 73.
Wow.
And you got to imagine if Lash continues on the trajectory she's on, man,
it could be much higher than that as well.
Easily much higher. You could argue possibly a top 20 next year.
For sure.
if she
And
continues on this
even,
trajectory.
again, the names that we mentioned quite often on the show, the likes of a LASH legend, JADE CARGILL, Kalani Jordan, Sol Ruka, those ladies who kind of come through the NXT ranks, they always seem to get higher and higher each year, the last like 2 or 3 years. And it just makes sense. It just makes sense that it happens that way. And I'm hoping that it's not a case as well where what seems to happen with the men quite a bit is they'll have their NXT runs and do great. We saw, the men's 500 list, Obafemi, Trick Williams right up there. But then when they move to the main roster, things change a little bit. You're in a bigger pond this time, so it makes sense that it happens. But hopefully we don't want to see that regression. Like it doesn't. We don't want it to be a very obvious one. Hopefully
I'll shout out also Maya World at 84, which I think is a big move for Maya World.
That's good. That's good. She won quite a few championships as well over that last 12 months as well, which is amazing. So yeah, hopefully we'll see that it carry on for the ladies as well who do move to the main roster, like with Kalani, who is doing something different now with TNA and the Knockouts Championship. So
I'll mention one more shout out. One more shout out. Callie Armstrong, the inaugural Evolve Women's Champion, her first year in the business, 103. That's huge.
That's insane. That's insane.
Huge.
That's insane.
Wow.
That's insane. But yeah, it's stories like that. It's stories like that why we do what we do, and get excited for people like that, as well as all the other ladies that I mentioned as well. And we just want to see them continue to progress, and be the legends that and stars that they're potentially being built up to be, But yeah, always interesting when a PWI list comes out and see how and why. For the most part, I always say this. I always make sure I say this. For the most part, I agree with them from in terms of the criteria and all the rest of it. The women's one sometimes can be the one that I look at with a side eye, mainly because of the slight bias, but I get it, but I don't. With the Japanese contingent. Again, the visibility is something that you point out quite often. The visibility or lack thereof. No, it's not their fault, but it is. It's a reality. But apart from that, this list is always interesting. Again, I always agree with the criteria for the most part. We use it ourselves in our thing as well. So interesting stuff. Gosh, we've been talking for forever. Let the people know where else they can find you on all the other spaces, my friend.
Of course, you can find me at Bonnerfied across all of the social spaces, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X. Of course, next big event coming up is the Ashe Wrestling 2-year anniversary on December 6th. Huge card being announced. Check out Ashe Wrestling for that. Matter of fact, Ashe just dropped a free match. It's the X Division title match that took place at close to midnight, which involved Leon Slater, which excited to see him and Javon Evans tonight battle for the tag team championship on NXT. So yeah, you can check that out. That's coming up December 6th for the 2-year anniversary, but the free match is available on the Ashe Wrestling YouTube page. Now, also you can check out my podcast. It's called Bonnerfied Conversations. It is available wherever you get your podcast. The episode that will drop today features one of my good friends from the space of Christian hip hop. His name is DJ Mike LV. Sway from Sway in the Morning calls him the voice of Christian hip hop. So it's a huge opportunity to have a great conversation with him. That drops later today. So be on the lookout for that.
Amazing stuff. And of course, you guys can find me right here every Tuesday alongside my friend Gerard Bonnet, of course, WrstlXtra on the Black Wrestling Alliance YouTube channel. And as well, you can kind of find me. I said kind of find me. You can find me. Yeah. You can kind of find me on Instagram, of course, Black Wrestling Alliance for all good things Black Wrestling. Guys, thank you for joining us. Everyone that usually jumps in. Shout out to who's in there, Neil Priest who's in here, a few other names and faces. You know, guys, thanks a lot for all the support, and we will see you again next time. Have a good one.